This is about filtering. I'm particularly talking about it in terms of how to use filters to help a mix and help things exist within a mix at different times. And you could call it a sort of volume control. So the first example of where I've used the filtering to help things live together is with the arpeggio part. So the arpeggio here, if you look when the guitar comes in, that's where the filter is starting to be engaged here. But that's basically because the arpeggio sound has got a lot of those guitar frequencies, the like brighter, higher mid frequencies. So when the guitar comes in, I want to move that up out of the way of it a little bit to make space. And to some extent, the pads as well. And it's very subtle, but it actually just allows the guitar to have the attention and not get masked. If I turn the filter off on these two sounds and leave it playing. The guitar's in there, but it's quite hard to hear. The guitar gets a bit lost. So, engaging the filter. There you go. Pops out of the mix. We're not massively filtering things, we're just carving. If you think about where the energy is in a song, the liveliness and what makes things feel exciting is high end a lot of the time. Filtering, especially if you think about it in terms of a DJ, or filtering of anything where you're opening up the top end or opening up the bright frequencies slowly, it always feels like the energy is building and building and building, and you've heard it in 1,000 dance tracks. Well, I use that mentality, and you can use that mentality in mixing and in production, where if you've got a sound that's pretty constant, for example, this pad sound, which I'm using a lot, this runs through the whole song. This section here, we've got the riff going, and we've got another melody that's coming in, and so they're both very bright sounds. One's rhythmic, one's just the continuous sound. And with the ups, it sounds okay, but with the filter on the pads, what I'm doing is I'm shaping that sound to take away some of the energy and then bring it back again. All that brightness, that kind of quite harsh sound, starts to filter down. And then that filter, if I open up the filter, you can see it's opening up the automation. There's that blue line. For that bit of the song, the energy is with the riff. That is allowed to breathe a bit more because that high end's been taken away. And there's a section where the melody on the pads has a kind of lovely kind of melody that's the main hook of the song. And it comes in around here, I think. Yeah. It's a ba 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 ba. So then using the filter to bring the pad energy back just before, and then it dips again just before that melody. I did this with using the latch. So when you've got latch on and you hit play, as you turn the knobs, it records what you're doing in the automation. Then you just remember to put it back to read afterwards. And then the riff, which is the real kind of star of the show in this bit of the song, that has the top end taken off to allow space for this pad melody. So here's without the filter. The two sounds are competing with each other. Just for that bit, you're thinking, well, what should I be listening to? There's a melody going on here, and there's also a riff. Which one is it? Where should my brain go? So let's put the filters on and hear that section again. I'll play the whole song so you can kind of feel that more pronounced. So here comes that melody at the top. And the riff is just tucked. It's really just allowing you to know where to listen, really, at that point in the song. And then at the end of that section, if you look at the top, the drums, they've actually got the same approach. When I was performing it, I just sort of stopped the drum machine and I was like, needs a little bit cleaner than that. So this is the drums with a parallel. and the main drums, if you look, they filter away. This goes down to like 80 something, or yeah, I mean, I'm only really going into like 79, 80%, so we're not completely filtering everything away. We're just taking the power away from the high end. All of these mix moves I've done pretty much, if you other than that one volume change there on the bass. Most everything else I've done is using this filter technique to shape sounds and move them out of the way of each other. One other application I think this is useful for is as I mentioned, if you are working in like repetitive music and dance music and you've got lots of drums going on, put a low cut filter on the kick drum, put a high cut filter on the snare hi-hat channel if they're on the same, basically allow two filters and then just play with them and see how it feels. Filter off the top end and then bring it back and you'll feel that like, oh shit, there's the energy. Wow, okay. And then think, okay, how can I apply that technique to a song or to a track? Because it's a very similar idea. You want to bring energy in and out, and you could it could be going from a verse to a chorus. You might just cut some high end with the filter on the verse and then open that up for the chorus, or even during a solo, you know, opening up. It's really can be really sort of expressive if you're doing it with a latch mode and then you're using a knob to do it. You can feel really expressive. You don't have to get it perfect. You can just dial it in once, try again, and save the automation. In summary, I'm using filters to help the different stems of this track to live with each other. Where the guitars are bright, I've taken the brightness off the arpeggios and the pads. Where the pad suddenly has a melody, I'm taking the high end a little bit off the main riff to give that space. And then I'm using filtering to help transitions. So as a part fades, I'm filtering it down slightly to add that transition and help other things to sort of move into focus. So really listen to your tracks objectively and think, are there two or three things happening at the same time? Yes or no? If they're in the way of each other, do I just turn them down or delete them? Try filtering them first and use this technique to see whether you can get some kind of more interesting results out of it. Let me know how you get on. I'm Steve Baker, mix engineer, producer. I'm not going to say all that shit. Hopefully that was useful. Maybe it wasn't. Take care, guys.